Good afternoon, everybody. And rail fans. Today we're going to cover the derailment starting off from afar here. I happened in East Palestine, Ohio a week ago. And we're 20 miles west of there. Salem, Ohio. The tracks are just on the other side of the brush here on the left. So everything came through here that Friday night. So we're going to go up and do a U-turn and come back here and then go through town and then try to follow the railroad East Palestine, see how far we get. That place my dad used to work. Used to be Warren Molded Plastics. So 70.6 miles is the case right there. So that's a block indicator. There's like a 2-mile circuit. And they send about 2.5 volts down the tracks. The other end, that keeps a relay up if everything's working good. And when the train hits it, of course, it shorts it out, drops the relay, lets them know somebody's on that part of the track. So 71 here. We got, what that is. If we got a track, some kind of reader there. I don't know if it's a card reader. I haven't worked at a railroad for 26 years. I got scars on the front and back of my neck from there. They used to have a signals right under the bridge here when they had wayside signals. Now this section is cab signals. My dad said when he worked at the plant, they watched him do the welded rail or whatever way back when. He thought that was pretty amazing. Here's the Salem sewer treatment. So the case up here at Allen Road, I was fitting in the new equipment back in the mid-90s. And during that week or two, I'd come out and do different cases and stuff. When I looked out one day, they had a new cell phone antenna downtown Salem. And then another day, there was ambulances here. Somebody either fell and injured themselves or fell to their death at the sewer treatment plant. So yeah, my son's car is over there working. Trailer place. Used to be Crane Deming pumps. We'll just do a U-turn here. And you'll see the case up here when I swing around to the left of the crossing gates. And so this is Allen Road, and then the mileposts are always on the cases and stuff. And then just walking distance from here is the Nice Chemical up by the tracks, where we're digging in and they're in full chem gear, and we're just in our work clothes from home. Oh, the police department firing range is off to the left there. Huh. I can hear them at home. I didn't know where they were. Huh. So 2 tracks, system put in about 1853. I think it was called the Pittsburgh, Fort Wayne in Chicago, or Pittsburgh, Fort Wayne and Western or something. Long before it became the Pennsylvania Railroad. And then somewhere out here too is the there's a buried between the ties 3,600 inches under the rail, 30 inches under the tie, because they're 6 inches. So that's going to put 71. I don't know what that is. Greasers. Yeah, it looks like greasers. So they grease the wheels because of the curve up ahead. You know, it's a straight axle. One has to slide while the other one turns. Excuse me. And turn just out a little bit to the starboard there. So, they got a PVC black plastic tubes buried out here like 2,800 feet from the crossing. And that was one of my first jobs the first year I worked on the railroad. Was take one of those little police accident wheels, start walking from the crossing in each direction while the foreman rode by me in a little S10 Chevy. And you got to keep that wheel on the tracks for over half a mile. And then they'd mark it where to bury it, whatever the exact measurement was. So that was me. We did it. I don't know how far I started in all that, and we did that for a long time. So we got rid of all the pole line, buried all the signal cables, which lessens the calls and copper thefts at night and everything, and wind damage. So let's see what we can get over here. So we had 67 degrees here yesterday. 39 today is the current temperature. That's warmest winter I ever remember in this part of the world. I'll cut across corners. And time just wrong there. Burst of speed. Enter the alley. So there was a bridge off to the right there they put in a long time ago to go over the railroad because, you know, emergency services can't get through those areas. It's like a heat lamp hung up in a tree above us. So cross over the tracks here. And this is a curve. If you think something's going to happen, it would happen in this curve off to the right. So the little lights on the case there, that's something that we didn't have. I guess that says they have power. Now all of these, the whole railroad is operated on battery, and we replaced the old liquid cells with gels back in the 90s. And there's a relay that'll click when the power goes off, and it runs on battery. So the whole railroad, all the signaling is run off a battery in case the power goes out. And they're like 2.5 volt cells. So I placed most of the batteries in between these places, and all the places that they couldn't get to by foot, I could do the climbing and stuff with a battery in each hand back then. And now I couldn't do it. I need a sling and a lift to lift me on those places, like near vertical climbs and ballast and stuff, where I use the battery in each hand to help climb up the hills and stuff, like out on the Beaver River in Pennsylvania. So this line around here runs between Alliance and Rochester, Pennsylvania, and then they said that was headed down to Conway, and that's the railroad I was working at when I got my neck injury. That turned into over 11 years of puking, I guess. Yeah, we'll take a break every once in a while so the videos don't run too long, and then well, should have went down that last road because this one doesn't cross the tracks, but we're going to cross it anyway and backtrack a little bit. My bad. Used to love cornrows down here in the 70s at the VFW. Dad belonged to that. Once every summer they had roasted corn on the cob. You peel most of the layers off, soak it in water, and stick it over a charcoal-fired grill. And it's amazing. So this is Mullen Street. And I remember, I think I got stuck up here in my Chevy pickup truck one winter. When they put these cases in, they got a little stainless chute they sink in the ground, run the cables up through. And I had my wife's laundry tubs full of sand, and they got to maintain your truck there. Oh, I bet they're double checking everything. Oh, that's a track foreman. He's got road rail gear. So I sunk the sand in from the wife's bins. I actually broke one. She was kind of unhappy, and I had to use some of that sand to get unstuck with. So you'd sink sand, so the rats, mice, and stuff don't dig up through the cables from underground and get into the little shack there. So that's one we put in all the rusted ones. They're pre-rusted to prevent them from corroding and stuff. Same as iodine or anodized does to aluminum. They do a pre-rust. So this one up here has already been redone. In fact, it's sitting over here. This used to be the train station. And our trailer was right off to where that trailer was. And it got taken out by the 1997 derailment. So here's the two tracks. Used to drive my Jeep or pickup truck up between them. And of course there was pole line all through here, even after we cut over to buried cable. It took them, they would hire contractors to come out, and they would pay them, and they would never complete the job. So after I got hurt, it looks like they got all that crap cleared out of the way. And they could keep whatever copper line or insulators, they made them a hell of a deal. That's the road I rode on all the time on bicycle as a kid, and there was tracks up here that you had to swing out and hit 90 degrees or your bike wheel would catch the tracks. And now that's all covered up, but you can still see where it crossed. Now we're going to swing in the other way. The tracks are on the left, behind the feed mill. Place on the right used to be lumber, People's Lumber, that was in business for well over 100 years in Salem. So up here on the left, there is, they talk about it, and I put it on Facebook. It was here when I was here, and it reads, they got paddles. If something hits it, it sounds dragging equipment. No, it's a case right here on the left. So it's the newer case. Let's do a swing around. Let's hope we don't get a flat tire here. They don't put spares in a lot of new cars. Okay, so there it is. I think it was further down. So there's a new case that we actually... So the next crossing down, and the tracks are just down to the right, is Cunningham Road. And I don't think we're going to go down there. We're going to head toward Latonia. I'm going to pull over when I can. I got my remote for my drone charging. And next I'm going to do the gimbal for the cell phone camera. That's Chestnut Grove Road. I guess there used to be a school up here. Chestnut Grove School. When they had the old one-room schools. So I didn't like certain things on the railroad, but I liked showing people how to fix things. Coming from a more modern and complicated job to the railroad, it just made some things easier. Some things I still, I would have had to grasp. So I would have had 30 years had I not got injured this year, and I've been on 5 weeks vacation at least by now. And I could have been a foreman, inspector, or supervisor by now too, or some. They wanted me to work in the office, and now my whole I regret because of the freaking injury. But I loved being outdoors. I loved being outdoors. That little buzzing sound is the car saying, "Hey, asshole, you just colored outside the lines." So the bottom of Hills Cunningham, there's a crossing. If you turn right, when we cut over between Salem and Alliance, that was premium position. You camp out there in the Jeep. Had a Coleman stove, a cooler, cooked food 12 hours a day, premium. And I made the mistake of water skiing before that. And that led to an ear infection, which led to pneumonia, and led to me leaving that beautiful post there. So the old road used to go straight ahead here. And we're gonna... where are we at here? No, that's the wrong one, isn't it? So they got this little section cut off here. So that was the old road. This road that we're on, as it goes around the curve to the left, they opened when I was in high school. And me and my brother parked the 67 Fury here, and then cross-country skied the new road that wasn't open yet. So there's the tracks down there. And this is what the train went on that derailed. So it could have went off anywhere. So we're still not, they got a bearing on fire. I'm not sure where that security camera was. And I don't know where the last hotbox detector was before the derailment. I could probably get on Google Earth and backtrack from the derailment from East Palestine this way and probably spot it. Because like I said, it's more of a stainless steel square box in the middle of nowhere. And ours are mostly rusted unless they've been replaced since the 90s. So this was the main road to get to Latonia when I was young. There was no trucks because you can't make it under the railroad bridge down here. Now that road goes to the new road there. Clearance is 9 foot 5 inches or so. Yeah, we used to hit the horn all the time when we were young going through here. So there's the two tracks, very old stone bridge, one lane. Unless you got one of those fun EVs or an Archimoto. Wow, look at that building up there. Or if it's a poultry farm. Something up there, I never noticed. You can see so much more in the winter. And then those pale trees are always around where water is by stream or creek up here on the range. So the tracks are now up to the left, and there was a derailment somewhere back in the 70s that my dad and brother went out to when it was Penn Central. So this is Franklin Square. There's part of Little Beaver Creek on the right. So several sections that come together up here. There are two sections. And there's another tributary from East Palestine, which is the North Fork of the Beaver Creek. This should be the middle one. And that's the one that's, down to weird in West Virginia, they got readings of pollution. So, we left the railroad. It's off to the left, and I'll turn you back on when we get to Latonia. And, let's see here. Typical overcast day in Ohio. All right, see you in a bit. Now you can see a train up ahead. We got a westbound coming into the west side of Latonia. Just before the tracks, there's a parking spot for the bike trail for another line that used to run along here and go down to Lisbon. Now we got double stacks. Now the other thing we did when we were redoing everything in the 90s is they dug under all these bridges so they could run double stacks. And the whole point was to get the trucks off the freeways. And the opposites happened. There's more truck traffic than ever. So there's the rail line. They already passed through East Palestine. And they're headed west. So in Alliance, they'll either head north to Cleveland line or keep on heading out toward Worcester or Mansfield on the Fort Wayne line. And the trains are so much longer now, too. That's another thing that they're going to have to deal with. Then when there was a trouble, the conductor used to walk the train to make sure everything was good, fix a problem if there was a bad airline or something. Well, now, shoot. That's a long walk. Oh, the end of the train just go by. So again, this is Latonia, Ohio. Small village. Might be the size of East Palestine with a lot less businesses. Main crossing there. We got like a 1 block downtown area from the old days. And we're at 63.2 milepost from Pittsburgh. And they used to have a lot more sightings along here because there was a lot of businesses in all these towns 100 years ago and more. We got the drone remote charged up. I put on the gimbal, but I don't see any indicator lights that it's fully charged or charging or... Huh. That's just a gyro system, so hold the cell phone from bouncing and moving around. Still got to learn how to use that better. Both gifts from my oldest son. I got all the detailing equipment in the back of the car for my youngest son. Pretty amazing kids. Actually, very amazing kids. So the tracks are running parallel to us on the left over there. But, you know, it would take a lifetime to do all these little roads and stuff. effing Cadillac of the early 60s up to the right or something. Or a Buick or some kind of GM product. Here's the Ohio 4-laner. It runs on the eastern side of Ohio from Ohio River, East Liverpool, up to I-90 and then to Ashtabula, Ohio. I think that was put late 60s, early 70s. And the railroad, a few hundred yards off to our left over there, running parallel to us. Excuse me. Well, take a little break and pull you back in when we get into Columbiana.